Roads lead to KwaZulu-Natal as AmaZulu King, Misuzulu kaZwelithini, has met with all traditional leaders and Ingonyama Trust Board members in the province. The King's new vision and the future of the Ingonyama Trust are but some of the things many were hoping to hear about. Cultural expert Professor Musa Xulu joins me now to discuss this further and look into the significance of this gathering. So this gathering bringing together, Prof, the traditional leaders as well as people from Ingonyama Trust, the board members of Ingonyama Trust. Just tell me about how it went and what you understand to have been the big takeout from this gathering.
Well, thank you very much, Tula Sizwe. As far as I know, the gathering was called by His Majesty himself. Unfortunately, he could not attend eventually due to other commitments. But it was a necessary gathering because you must remember that most of AmaKhosi actually administering the rural land in KwaZulu-Natal, which falls under Ingonyama Trust since 1994. This is the lands that were before 1994 under the old KwaZulu homeland government. It becomes necessary the way His Majesty had looked at it because he has not been able to meet with AmaKhosi in a long time. What is being spoken about a lot these days here in the kingdom are the issues of socio-economic development in the land of Ingonyama Trust. So that would be the most important topic to be discussed, but also to allow the chairperson of the board, Judge Jerome Ngwenya, to go through and explain the act itself and the amendments that have come in the past little while, as well as the implications for development, socio-economic development in the territory. So he did that, and he's been able to put AmaKhosi, the traditional leaders, on a good footing to understand what their role is.
So in His Majesty's absence, I suppose we didn't get to hear much from him, but I think a lot has happened in recent weeks around Ingonyama Trust and the land under its control for us to get a glimpse. What's your understanding of what his vision is about Ingonyama Trust land? You and I know, and you've written extensively on this, about the controversies around Ingonyama Trust, especially around 2017 when those recommendations came through. So we're looking forward to hearing his own vision about Ingonyama Trust and the land it controls. Do we have a glimpse of what his thinking is around this?
Well, on the 1st of November, His Majesty called me for a meeting to look at the aftermath of the 29th of October. And so we met on the 2nd of November. That's where the idea of the Zulu Kingdom investment conference was mooted by him as something that needed to be done urgently. I thought then that after the conference, which was held last week on Monday and Tuesday in Durban, His Majesty wanted now to also share the same vision that was shared during the conference, that says that the land must be available for development so that the people of the kingdom can move away from poverty, unemployment, as well as the issues of crime in the rural areas. It becomes very important that that happens because this land of Ingonyama Trust is so vast. But if you drive around in the rural areas, KwaNongoma or wherever Tula Sizwe, you'll see that most of it lies unused. And there is hunger, there is no food security in the territory. The way I understand how His Majesty would like to see happening in the Ingonyama Trust land, you will remember that that land is held in trust by His Majesty the King, but the primary beneficiaries are the communities and the AmaKhosi. So when you want to go and invest there, the first door that you have to go to is the office of whatever traditional Inkosi you want to deal with. And then there are processes that are involved, which Judge Ngwenya has been able to explain a lot to AmaKhosi. The vision, as far as, because I don't think what he was going to say this week was different from why he wanted the conference to happen. The vision is for him to be seen to be champion of socio-economic development in the territory of Ingonyama Trust, as well as in the Kingdom of KwaZulu. That cannot happen on its own. You must remember that the Zulu Kingdom is a federal kingdom. Each Inkosi has some kind of autonomy that they exercise over their territories, and therefore the king needs the active participation of AmaKhosi in all development programs that are going to kick in the next near future.
Yeah. Lastly, Prof. Xulu, do we know what conversation is happening around finally settling the tension that's sort of latent around Ingonyama Trust, the act itself, but also accountability of the Ingonyama Trust Board to the legislature, for example, Parliament? Recently, there was that issue that was raised. You wrote a little bit about this at the time of the Motlanthe high-level panel review on the effectiveness of legislation towards the end of 2017, early 2018. But it seems to me that that conversation still needed to be taken forward, such that in as much as you have Ingonyama Trust and this kingdom within democratic South Africa, there's synergy and they get along and they work together where there needs to be accountability. Is the king looking into that, and are you talking to him about that?
No, a very important question. You see, one of the things that has got to be clear is that the Zulu Kingdom exists within the context of a democratic South Africa. So it cannot have, for example, legislation that is not in line with the Constitution or activities that are not in line with the Constitution. What has happened over the past few years, there's been lots of happenings in Parliament. And because this issue concerns land, it is therefore controlled from the Department of Land Affairs in Pretoria. What has happened is that in the past few weeks, the Portfolio Committee has come to an understanding that the accounting authority of Ingonyama Trust is the board is Ingonyama Trust Board, and that matter has been now corrected, because in the past it was not clear. It looked like there were two organizations within one. That there was the board on one side, and then there was the trust on the other side. Now it's one organization. But I think the most important thing, and His Majesty has been talking a lot about this privately also, that Ingonyama Trust should be seen as a champion of development within of course, the prescripts of the legislation in South Africa. Even the Act itself is very clear that Ingonyama Trust should be is administering the land, but in line with land reform in the country. So therefore, that becomes very important. What does that mean? That means that the plans that happen there must not be in contrast with the constitution of the country, as well as other legislations that control land in the country.
Yeah, all right, let's leave it there for now. We cannot exhaust this topic. Professor Musa Xulu, thank you as always for your time and insights here on eNCA. Let's check